I wanted to share, I had a wonderful, wonderful experience with my husband over the weekend. It was actually a lot. We had a wonderful, wonderful chat. We're working on my book, which has been long, long overdue. And I'm so excited to be getting this book finally written. Hey, Rachel, great to see you. I am so happy that we're finally getting our book written, or getting my book written. It's way overdue. I've tried several times to write this book, and it's not, hey, Valencia, good to see you. It's writing a book, as they say, is a very, very difficult thing to do. I had thought that it was a lot easier than it has proven to be. And one of my personal things is that I don't want to write a book just to write a book. I know many, many coaches do this. That's not my approach. I really want to find my unique voice and what my unique message is in the dating world, and write a book that I feel speaks to a real need in the dating world, that no other book is speaking to. My theme is called Emotionally Naked Dating. And so I work with women who want to create this beautiful, deep, emotionally naked connection with a man that really is the foundation for the very, very best relationships, to be able to create a safe and loving, emotionally naked, emotionally open relationship. So that's what this book is about. And it's been a beautiful experience to sit with Benjamin and write the book, because Benjamin, my husband, is the finest man I've ever known in my entire life. He is the best man I have ever met. And anybody who knows me, has worked with me, has been following me for a while, knows how much I love him. But what's so important about that is that he truly is a loving, heartfelt, self-aware, masculine man. And so what the benefit of this is, working with him and writing this book together, is that I am able to ask him questions and get the perspective of a truly high value, intelligent man, and hear the truth about what men are thinking and feeling. So what was beautiful this weekend with Benjamin and me was that we were talking about sex and what goes on with men sexually in the dating world, what's really happening. Because I am seeing and hearing from so many of my female clients that a lot of men are slow to make the moves. They don't advance things. And there can be many, many, many reasons for that. I'm just going to put it out there. There could be many reasons why a man is not pushing for a Zoom call or a phone call or asking you out on a date and advancing things. But something that he said to me really just struck me between the eyes. It really was one of those things that you hear and you think, wow, that's true. And women just don't even know this. Maybe a lot of men aren't even aware of what I'm about to share. But so what Benjamin said to me was that with so much of what's going on today in the media, we hear, about the Me Too movement, and we hear about people like Nasser and Jeffrey Epstein and all of these sexual scandals, and they're horrifying. It's just horrifying to hear these things. We know that it's wrong, it's prevalent, and there's way, 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 way too much of this stuff going on. But it's important to keep in mind that there are very, very, very good men out there And there are men who are incensed by what they see these other men doing, and they're incensed when they hear what's going on. And the impact of a lot of that on good, conscious, loving, aware men is that it causes them to pull back. Hi, Stephanie, great to see you. It causes them to pull back and feel insecure and unsafe, initiating and making the first move, especially sexually when it comes to women. So I want you to think about this, because this is in many ways the same thing that happened during the women's liberation movement. Men became afraid to make a move because they didn't know what we wanted or what we didn't want. Today, I wasn't aware of this, probably many of you are, but I didn't even realize today that if you are in college, on many college campuses, couples have to actually sign a consent form before they can be sexually intimate. I can't even imagine being a young person in college and having to actually have the wherewithal to stop and ask somebody to sign a consent form before I would have sex, before we would have sex, or to be a woman and have to say, hey, we need to sign that consent form. It would be terrifying for men, right? Because they would have to have this form signed, and it would be, vulnerable for women to have to stop and sign this, and it would be a buzzkill for the couple. But that's how unsafe things are for people today. And schools don't want to get sued, and they don't want lawsuits, they don't want rape cases. And so people are having to stop and sign, young people are having to stop and sign a consent form in order to have sex on many college campuses today. Can you imagine the fear that brings up in a man? Because as Benjamin said, and this shocked me when my husband said this to me, he said, if I were a single man today, I would wait for the woman to initiate sex. I would not initiate sex today as a man. And I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah. He said, because for a man, what feels hot and sexy and magical in the moment. Yes, Bonnie, you have to, on college campuses today, that there are students who have to sign consent forms before they can have sex. I'm not making this up. It's true. And so, Benjamin said, being a smart guy today, I would wait until the woman initiated sex, because I would not want to run the risk of having somebody turn around the next morning and say, I was drunk and you took advantage of me. Because what seems wonderful in the moment when two people are caught up in the moment on a date is very different from how things look in the light of day, right? It can be a totally different thing. Or if the guy decides that, something triggers him and he doesn't want to see a woman again, she can get upset. Yeah, that would be fearful. So Valencia said, I was unaware of that, an actual consent form. Yeah, can you imagine that people have to stop, kids need to get a consent form in order not to get into trouble or have somebody turn around and say, yeah, I was drugged or I was date raped or, I never said yes. And in the light of day, people can change their stories. What seemed great when you're talking to your girlfriend the next day and she starts to say, well, he shouldn't have done X, Y, and Z or whatever. And then your whole story changes in your mind. Things can just not be good. Yeah, when we went to college, it didn't exist, Stephanie. That's true. Hey, Annette, great to see you, my dear. It was true. And, it's really a different world out there today. There's so much going on, and there's so much happening out in the world regarding sex and sexual abuse and, lawsuits and all. And, it's horrifying. And so what the impact of this is on really good men is that it makes them scared and inhibited. They don't know, are you sending them signals? Are you interested? Are you saying yes? Or are you on the fence? Are you tentative? Is it not the right time? And so it's scary for good men. And Benjamin, my own husband, said to me yesterday, I would not initiate sex today. If I were out in the dating world, I would wait for a woman to initiate sex with me. Now, the problem is, I am not the kind of woman who would probably initiate sex with men. I would be waiting. Hey, Mohammed, let's get some male insight here. I would be waiting for a man to make the first move with me. I would want a man to be the leader in that part of the courtship. And so if a man wasn't making the moves on me, I would never for a moment stop to think that it might be because he wants to be sure that I'm interested and that it's safe for him to have sex with me. It wouldn't even occur to me. Right. I would never, ever be the one to initiate sex. I might reach out and touch his hand or, show some, safe physical affection, but I would not be the girl who would take off my clothes and get into bed with the guy or be the one, right? Get married and then consummate the marriage. That happens, but that's rarer and rarer today. So I can see where there are a lot of missed opportunities today, especially with older men who feel worried or don't want to get into trouble or wind up in a bad situation. They may be very, very cautious. And I could see where that would happen. My husband's 68. And so he would probably be, a lot of women would just think, what's wrong with him? Why, we've had 3 dates or 5 dates. Why hasn't he, invited me into his bed? And especially because he's an older man and he's, of a certain age, we're not kids, we've had sex before. And so some women would really wonder what was going on with him and think that he was less of a man. And in truth, my husband is an incredibly masculine man. He's incredibly masculine, but he would be cautious because he wouldn't feel safe putting the moves on a woman. He would want her to be, to be the one who would initiate so that he would know that it was safe. I am curious if any women today, any of you are aware of this, if you've stopped to think about how things like, Jeffrey Epstein and Nasser, the one who abused all of the female gymnasts, or the Me Too movement and all of the awful things that we've heard there. Have any of you thought about how this all impacts good men? How good men are impacted by this stuff? Hi, Lisa Cohen. Good to see you here, honey. Have any of you stopped to think about how these things impact men? Does it cause, do you ever stop to think about the fact that this would have an impact on good men, that it would make them cautious, that they sit back and wonder if some people don't get caught in the the crossfire, because there's always collateral damage with these kinds of things, right? That good people also get implicated, that there are some good people. It's not, there are some women who feel jilted or feel angry, and they can take something and make up a story and implicate a good man who can find himself in a bad situation. So I'm just curious. I'm not getting any responses from any of you. Do you put yourself ever in the man's shoes and ask yourself how men would be impacted by these things? So Valencia says, I could see how this would have an impact, especially good men with good intentions, right, Valencia? And they're out there. They're out there, and we can't label all men as being jerks or, manipulators and, out to hurt us or take advantage of us, because it just isn't true. There are wonderful men who are very loving and kind and caring and concerned about, getting caught up in a bad situation. The world is changing quickly, and I imagine men don't know how to fit into it and what their roles are now, that women are independent in every way. Totally, Natalie, completely. So many men don't know how they fit into the world. They really don't. In fact, something else very insightful that my husband Benjamin shared with me, he said he was thinking about all of these cop shows. It's very fascinating, his perspective on all this. But he was saying, on these cop shows, a lot of them that we used to watch, shows like Castle and The Mentalist, and there's probably a whole bunch more like these even today. But my husband was sharing that, very often there is a kind of sweet, bumbling, detective who's, seems really gullible on the surface, but is actually very smart underneath and knows exactly what he's doing. And then there's a female woman, a female lead who plays a detective who really, is a tough nut to crack, and she's a businesswoman, and, and this detective kind of, keeps beating at the door. He's trying to break through her defenses and get her to let down her walls, her protective walls. And, he does it in a cute, playful way. And it's those shows are really interesting to see, because these guys that, these sort of stereotypical detective characters are very safe and they're very cute, but underneath, they're the great guy that she's looking for. And there he is beating down her walls. And, it's kind of cliche but that's what we see. That's the archetype, the tough, the tough detective who's savvy and has been through it all, and she's independent, like Natalie said, and this sweet detective who's kind of, knows exactly how to get through her defenses. And you watch that unfold over a few seasons until he finally gets the girl, he wins his way into her heart. And that's, kind of what a lot of women are dreaming of. They're looking for that guy that doesn't feel threatening and who's persistent and clever and funny and can break down her walls. So, yeah, I think a lot of men really just don't know their roles anymore with us. They don't. And so if you're a kind and loving, compassionate woman, it's important that you understand men, that you're willing to cut good men some slack, and that you realize that men don't have it all figured out. And even though we have this idea that we're looking for a strong man who just knows what he wants and he's going to go for it no matter what, and that woman is going to be me, right? And he's going to get through my walls, and my independence won't scare him off and all. It's very, very important to start to really take a deep breath and understand that the very best men are afraid. They have walls up too, and they don't want to get caught up with the wrong woman. They don't want to get their hearts broken again. They don't want to have to deal with, women who are not able to create that safe space for them. Women who understand that these ideals, these stereotypes, it's funny, Benjamin was saying, if you look at romance novels, and romance novels are still the number one selling genre of books out there, I think. It may be self-help, but I think it's romance novels. Women devour these books. And if you look at the cover of romance novels and you see the pictures on the covers, it's a man ripping a woman's bodice, tearing off her clothes and, ripping her clothes off. So it's really important to see men for who they really are. And if you want good men, it's not it's a different kind of romance novel. And it comes from having compassion and heart and love for men and understanding who they really are, not trying to fit them into some impossible idea of what we think a man should be, but to really look at who they truly are and see the sweetness there, see the kindness, see the vulnerability, understand who they are, and then make room for them in a relationship with us so that they can be human. We all talk about being authentic in relationship. Being authentic means that we let go of these ideas, these fantasies of who we think men and women should be, and we start to see who we both really are, that we're humans, that we have our faults, that we have fears, right? That we have limitations, and to make room for that in our relationships. So for women, that starts with us having compassion for men and understanding what they're up against, what they go through in life, in the same way that we want them to have compassion for us and know what we go through in life. And then to be able to bring all of that into a beautiful, beautiful, real relationship where a man can really be a real man, not a fake man, not a romance novel man, but a real man with fears, a man who's human, a man who's afraid, a man who might get it wrong sometimes, but might also get it right a lot of the time, if he has a loving, caring, compassionate woman to guide him. So that's what I have for you today. Please have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Yeah, Bonnie, you have to learn about men and recognize the red flags, but also know what is a red flag and what's not a red flag, right? And to have compassion if you don't understand something. Don't make assumptions, ask questions, get curious, find out more before you jump to conclusions and push good men away. There are so many stereotypes that we carry into our relationships about who men and women should be, how we should show up, how we should act. And if you want to have a real relationship, you have to challenge all of that so you can see the truth, so that you can see who that real person is sitting across from you on a date. I'm Lisa Shield, and you can learn more about me by going to lisashield.com. That's where you'll find the link to my free 45-minute presentation. And please take a look. If you like what you see and hear, jump on a breakthrough call with me and let me show you how you can have a real relationship with a real man that can last the rest of your life.